Hello everyone, I'm Paget, and today I'm going to talk to you about what to do when your neck is in pain, because I woke up this morning and I can't move my neck. So I'm going to treat it in real time and see if I can figure out how to fix it on me so that you can fix it on yourself. Yesterday I was playing my favorite game, which is spike ball, and I landed funny and I must have jarred my neck at some point. It was a bit sore last night and I could feel that tightness come up through the shoulder and into the side of the neck. You may have experienced this before. You may have had it playing sport, you may have had it when you slept funny, maybe there's a fan on the side of you that sort of froze your neck, or maybe you just woke up with a stiff neck one day. But this is what I'm going to work on myself, and I'm going to do it with you as well. So the first thing to think about when you have a sore neck is, do you have any symptoms in your hands? Do you have any pins and needles? Do you have any numbness? Is there grip strength problems? If there is, that could be actually a nerve impingement in your neck. Now, I don't have any of that, so I know it's not that. So the next thing to do is to look at your range of motion. So take your chin down to your chest and feel what happens. So when I do that, I get a big pulling up in my back of the neck. So I know it's a muscle thing on the back. I have no symptoms down my arm, which is fantastic. Then looking back up, I get a block there. I can't go any further. So from the side, it's like, that's it. All right, so I now know that there's muscle problems going forwards, like in the spasm, and there's what we call a facet, which is these two little discs, two little joints in the back. When they go together, they create like a little electrical type jolt. Now, if you get a bigger electrical type jolt that shoots down both arms, that's a different problem, and you should see your doctor about that. All right, so I'm going to turn my head to the left. That's it. Turn my head to the right, and that's it. Again, getting this pull in the back into a focal area just into the left-hand side of my upper ribs. And then lastly, I'm going to move my head left and right. So going down this way, I can feel like a stretch. Yeah, not too bad. Going this way, that's okay, but I feel like I put a lot of pressure coming into this area. All right, so now I know roughly my range of motion in my neck. How do I treat that? Well, you may have noticed then I went forwards and backwards, rotated both ways and went side to side. So those are the cardinal planes of movement, and those are the 6 directions. So I'm going to actually create some movement coming up through my spine here into my neck to help loosen off and relax those muscles. So the way I imagine this is that I did something yesterday that irritated my neck. Maybe the two joints came together, maybe a disc got a little bit pinched, or maybe a nerve got pinched. You know, whatever happened, it doesn't really matter, because this is a reaction to that. So my fall created a protective muscle spasm. Now I need to tell the brain, to tell that muscle, relax the muscle spasm, everything's okay. So the first thing I'm going to do is this. I'm going to hold my head completely still, as though I've got like a pole coming out here to you guys. And then I'm just going to rotate my shoulders. Oh, that's hard. Rotate my shoulders both ways. I'm going to relax that. So what's happening here is we're moving the neck, or I'm moving my neck from below. So it's almost the same as I'm looking over my shoulder. I'm just doing it in a very rhythmical way here. So I actually have some other videos, which I'll link in the comments below, on these exercises when I don't have a sore neck, and you can see me how I would like them to be done. But you can see, right now, my shoulders come quite nicely this way, but when I'm going this way, it's very stiff. But it's not painful yet, so I'm happily doing this. So I'm just pumping the blood into this area, pumping the inflammation out, telling the muscles that we can do some pain-free movement, which over time will actually relax them. So I'm not going to do this now with you guys, but I would do this for up to 3 minutes. It's going to be a bit boring you watching me do this for 3 minutes, but I would do this for 3 minutes until I start getting a really good change. In fact, I can almost feel the change already. I can feel it as I'm coming with my shoulders around to the right, so relatively looking over my left shoulder, like this. Boom. I can feel a change. All right, so that's the first thing I would do. I would simply hold my head still and move my body underneath. So next we're going to look at the sagittal plane of motion, the forwards and backwards motion. So this is what Gary Ward from Anatomy of Motion would call a sagittal plane cog. So I can just turn my shoulders this way, but I can't turn my shoulders to look this way and look at you guys, so I'm going to have to face this way. Take your thumbs down by your side and turn them backwards whilst you stick your butt out, arch your lower back, and slide your chin backwards here. And then you go the other way, rounding the back Turn the hands inwards, tuck the pelvis in the posterior tilt and suck your chin out. So I'm going to go through a few of these. Now, this transition between sliding the head forward and sliding my head backwards causes a little bit of discomfort, but not too much. So again, I'm saying to the body, hey, let's move the shoulders, let's move the neck, and calm down some of these muscles. So this motion is actually really good for this tight upper trapezius and the levator scapula, which I think is what the muscle that's gone into spasm here. So working with that for a little bit to create a bit more motion. Now lastly, in this initial stage, I want to work with side bending. So we did this with my head left and right, but I want to create that without moving my head. So I'm going to take one hand up, one hand down. I'm going to let my hips shift to one side. So you'll see the hip shift here. So this is the same as me taking my head down to the side. I'm just initiating that movement from the bottom up. And this actually stretches quite nicely my upper traps, my levator scap on that left-hand side. All right. The more I reach with this hand, the more stretch I feel. But the goal or the trick is really to imagine I've got a glass of water on the top of my head and I don't let that fall off. Now we're going to go the other way. This one already, my body can anticipate this one. It's going to be harder to do. Yeah, so actually lifting up, this is all part of the experiment. Lifting up that arm stretches the levator scap muscle, right? The levator scap goes from the upper cervical vertebrae to the scapula, the shoulder blade. When I lift up my arm like this, it actually pulls down on that muscle, and so it starts stretching it. So I can do this, but I can't do any more because of the pain here. So we're going to work directly on the levator scap, shortly. And now I've got a good idea of what my neck is capable of doing. I know there's some nice pain-free movements here when I'm looking right. There's a pain-free movement when I'm side bending right. And there's a relatively pain-free movement in the sagittal plane. The only one that's really blocks is this side bending left. So next I'm going to work on that levator scap. And I'm going to show you guys how to do that. Okay, the levator scap muscle goes from the top of the shoulder blade to the top of the spine here. The cervical spine, and when we raise our arm, it stretches it. So if I was to hold on to something, so I have some rings here. If you're doing this at home, you can use the top of a door frame, top of a door maybe, pull-up bar, whatever you've got. If I let my body weight hang here, I can instantly feel an increase in the tension of that muscle, which is good. So I'm now going to hold on here and then let my head fall forwards and backwards, and I'm getting a great stretch to that levator scap, getting some clicks and clunks as well. That means the muscles are loosening up, getting some adjustments through there. I'm actually going to let my head drop out to the right slightly, and then I'm going to rotate it as well. So I've stretched the muscle and now I'm taking it through its range of motion. Again, I would probably do this a little bit more for a longer time, or I will do it for a longer time off camera. But let's just see. Did that make any difference? Okay, still a little bit painful through there, but it felt good and I had some nice cavitations. So we're going to move on to the next thing, which is going to be a direct inhibition to that muscle, and we'll see if I can get that to release off and improve my side bending to the left, which is still pretty tight. Okay, for this release, I'm going to use a hard ball. This thing is a solid rubber ball, something that a dog might chew on or something like that. I think I got this in a pet store. And I'm going to be using the corner of a wall. So I'm going to do this from a few different angles so you can see. But the idea is to take this ball, put it on the wall, and then take your upper traps, levator scap attachment, and just gently lean into it. And so what I'm looking for here is and I found it, is a band of tight muscle. Oh, okay. And once I find that band of tight muscle, I don't really move around too much. I don't want to flick on and off it. I just want to gently put more pressure onto it to stretch it. Now, there are some delicate structures in this area of the body. So if you go too far to the front, you may get some numbness in your hand or tingling. If you get that, just back off a little bit. It means you're pushing on a nerve. But generally, when you're at the back here, you've got some big muscles, the trapezius, and for me anyway, that levator scap is what I'm after. Okay, so I'm going to show you that from a different angle. And this just feels, you know, it's that good discomfort, but it feels like that shoulder is really releasing off when I do this. Okay, so ball goes on the wall here. It's a bit dark, but you should be able to see it. Then my shoulder comes in here, just like rugby, if anyone's played rugby. And you're pushing into that sore muscle. I'm moving it around a little bit till I find the tight bands in particular. And I can move this a little bit if I want to get some movement in the scapula. Sometimes I find it's useful just to tuck the hand behind you so you can totally relax that arm. That feels really good in this situation. Doesn't work for everyone. And there it is. And now I'm zeroed in on that tight area. I'm going to take a few deep breaths here because my first rib is underneath there as well. And as anyone who's ever had this problem knows that you don't sleep well. I did not sleep well last night because I couldn't get comfortable, and that causes stress, and that stress can actually fire up some of the accessory muscles of breathing, being the scalenes and the sternocleidomastoid, and that can actually bring that first rib up as well. So as I'm pressing on here, I'm going to get some movement through my ribs and just help that rib depress back to where it should start the breathing cycle from. Okay, and I'll have more of that in my immediate future as well. All right, so what we've covered here is a movement-based approach, top down, bottom up, then particular stretches to the levator scap, and then inhibition. So I'm going to retest some of those movements now. So look at this. This one feels so much easier. All right, so I can actually kind of get my hips to move just a little bit here. Yeah, my whole back is now loosening up. Let me just go to the other side. Yeah, so that's great. So the whole back's loosening up. I still feel tightness, a little bit of discomfort, but I'm getting this better movement through my shoulders. And on the motions where I'm just moving my head, that one was grabbing before. It's less grabby. I can now feel a stretch in the front of my throat, which is fantastic. And then looking at you whilst I'm talking, still a little bit stiff. So looking over my left shoulder needs a little bit of work, but this has only been, you know, a handful of minutes, and I've already got some changes into my shoulder. So I'm going to go through this routine a couple of times to relax, pump out the inflammation in the muscles, and hopefully get my head moving properly, because this weekend that I'm filming this, it's a big weekend. I've got a big hike tomorrow, so I need to be moving as well as I can. Look, if you like what I've shown you here on how to basically rehabilitate your own neck from a neck crick or a neck cramp, waking up with a stiff neck, whatever you want to call it, make sure you like and subscribe, and I can make more videos like this, or send this to someone who you think will need my advice in an emergency on how to get their neck moving as soon as possible.